When the human soldier removed his armor, the alien woman gasped. "I remember you," she said. The battlefield was silent now. The once chaotic sounds of war had given way to an eerie calm. Smoke drifted lazily into the air from the remnants of burning ships scattered across the ground. The air was thick with the scent of ash and the metallic tang of blood. The human soldiers stood in a line watching the wreckage while the wounded were tended by medics. It had been a brutal fight, but they had won. Sergeant Liam Carter stood among the soldiers, his body sore from the battle. His helmet was off, his face smeared with dirt and sweat. He looked around at the scene with a quiet sense of pride. Another victory for humanity. Another day survived. But there was something unsettling in the back of his mind. Something he couldn't shake. It had been a close call. Too close. As he moved to remove the rest of his armor, the weight of it seemed heavier than ever. He grunted slightly as he pulled off his chest plate and then his shoulder guards. He had fought hard, and now it was time to rest, to recover. But just as he was about to remove the last piece of his armor, he heard a voice. "You." Liam froze, his hand still gripping the piece of armor. The voice had come from behind him, and it was soft but unmistakably clear. His heart skipped a beat. It was a voice he hadn't heard in years. A voice that had haunted him through nightmares. A voice that had once been a whisper in his memory. He turned slowly, his body tensing with a mixture of shock and disbelief. Standing before him was a woman, an alien woman with violet skin and silver eyes. Her long dark hair cascaded down her back like a river of ink. She was wearing the tattered remains of a uniform, but there was no mistaking her identity. He had seen her once before, years ago, in a different war, in a different place. The woman stared at him, her expression unreadable. Then her eyes widened and she gasped. "I remember you." Liam's throat went dry. He couldn't believe it. This woman had been part of a mission years ago, a mission that had gone wrong. The details were murky, but he remembered her. He remembered her because she had been the enemy. She had been one of the alien leaders he had fought against in a brutal conflict that had taken so many lives. But now here she was standing before him, not as an enemy, but as something else. Something he couldn't quite place. "You..." He started, his voice hoarse. "You're alive." The woman nodded slowly, her gaze fixed on him. There was a strange vulnerability in her eyes, something Liam hadn't expected to see in a being who had once been so fierce and unyielding. "Yes," she replied softly. "I am alive, and I remember you." Liam swallowed hard, trying to make sense of the situation. He had expected to face more aliens, to fight more battles. But he hadn't expected this. He hadn't expected her. Not like this. Not with this quiet understanding in her eyes. "You were there," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "I saw you on the battlefield. You saved me." The words hit Liam like a blow to the chest. He had saved her. He didn't remember doing it, but he had to have. He had saved her. And now she was here, in front of him, alive. "What happened to you?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. "How did you survive?" The woman looked down at the ground, her expression darkening. "I was taken prisoner after the battle. I was sold into slavery, and I was left to rot in a prison cell until today." Liam's heart clenched in his chest. He had known about the war crimes committed against the alien species. He had known that some of them were captured and forced into labor. But hearing it from her, hearing the pain in her voice made it real, made it personal. "I'm sorry," Liam said, his voice low. "I didn't know." The woman looked up at him, her silver eyes meeting his. There was a flicker of something there, something soft, something he hadn't expected. She wasn't angry. She wasn't bitter. She was just tired. Tired of the war, tired of the pain, tired of being a prisoner. "It's not your fault," she said quietly. "But now, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to feel. Liam didn't know what to say. He had never been in a situation like this. He had never been on the receiving end of someone's gratitude after the war. He had always been the one to fight, the one to kill. But now here he was face to face with someone he had once called an enemy, someone who had been through hell and back. And somehow she was still standing. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence between them was heavy with unspoken words. The air felt thick with the weight of their past and the uncertainty of their future. Liam had no idea what to do next. He had never been good at dealing with emotions, but he knew one thing. He couldn't just walk away from her. Not now. Not after everything she had been through. He stepped closer, his boots crunching against the gravel beneath him. I don't know what's going to happen next, he said quietly, but I'll help you. I'll make sure you're safe. The woman's eyes softened, and she took a step forward, her hand reaching out to him. Thank you, she whispered. But you don't have to. You've already done enough. Liam shook his head. No, I haven't. Not yet. For the first time since their encounter, the woman smiled. It was small, but it was there. A hint of warmth in a world that had been cold for far too long. I don't know what happens next either, she said. But I do know one thing. I remember you, and I won't forget. Liam nodded silently. He didn't know where this would lead. He didn't know what would happen between them. But he did know that things had changed. The war had changed them both. And now they would have to face whatever came next together.